Leon Grizzard in Austin, Texas. The question gets asked, what scales do I need to learn to play country or to play western swing? And the answer given quite properly is it's time to knuckle down and learn how to play the major scale in a variety of positions on the neck, to learn the major pentatonic scales that are associated with that. You need to get some hot notes working in there, so learn the dominant scale, also called the Mixolydian scale. Those of you that want to learn modern hot chicken picking, you probably already know how to play the minor pentatonic or blues scale. You need to learn something about playing over minor chords and, stuff like that. And so what I'm going to hope to do in this video series is to kind of walk you through what you need to learn, show you some of it, and maybe put you on the path to studying the things that you need to learn. Now, like most teachers, I think you start with the major scale. And there are kind of two reasons for starting with the major scale. The first is it's a bread and butter everyday thing that you use in playing country or western swing and really all kinds of music. You'll use the major scale for playing kicks to tunes. The melodies to most tunes you play are going to be played in the major scale, and you oftentimes use a snatch of the melody to kick off tunes. You may use the melody, major scale melody, as a taking off point for your improvisations that are stray from the major scale. And so forth. You use it for fills and for connections. And so the major scale is practical, everyday, bread and butter kind of thing that you use. The other reason for studying the major scale is from a music fundamentals point of view. The major scale is the most important scale in Western music, and it is where the chords come from. We'll talk about that in a bit. The chord progressions, understanding them, understanding what chords are going to be in each key is a big help to you in understanding songs and figuring out how what you're playing fits in, communicating with other players. The major scale is the yardstick against which other scales are measured. When we say the minor pentatonic scale is 1, flat 3, 4, 5, flat 7, we mean those flat 3 and flat 7 are flattened as compared to the 3rd and 7th notes of the major scale. And so it's just very important to understand it, to understand our music. We're going to start with by studying the 3 major chord triads in the major scale, the 1 chord, the 4 chord, and the 5 chord. We'll be starting out in G, and so that will be G, C, and D. We're starting with those because they are the chords over which you will be playing about 90% of the time, and by concentrating on those we'll keep our scope manageable. Much more manageable than if we're trying to learn all the major and all of the minor chord arpeggios. We'll get to the minor chords at some point later on, but we're going to start with the ones that actually get the most use. We all know that that's a G chord there. Those are all notes of the G major triad. The note we don't get in that fingering is that B note there, the 3rd of the chord, the 2nd fret on the A string. So if you understand that these are the notes on the lower strings of the G major triad, whether you're playing a jazz type line with a major 7th, or you're playing a flat 7 for a little bit hotter sound, or you're playing the major pentatonic scale for that kind of country sound, you can see how in all of those instances the notes you're playing are hung on that framework of those notes there, of the G triad. And that's true of the other chord changes as well. after we have learned the triad arpeggios across all 6 strings on the G chord, the C chord, and the D chord, then we're going to add a couple of notes to each of those triads to give us the major pentatonic scales for each of those 3 chords. And at that point we'll pause and put all that together. After you've played those triads, G, C, and D, you will have played all the notes of the G major scale. Well, after we've looked at the triads and the major pentatonic scales, I'm going to suggest you stop and consolidate that into the G major scale and play some melodies with that. And then we're going to move on to adding some hot notes into that. And then we'll move on to minor chords and some other stuff. So if that seems like things you would like to learn about and an approach you think that you might like to take, I hope you will stick around with me for the rest of this series. Now I'm going to tell you how to play the notes of the triads, actually show you where they are, because they're based on chord forms that you probably already know, and that'll be easy enough to do. For the longer things, the various scales, we will just be here all day if I'm trying to walk you through each finger on each string and a variety of scales. All of this stuff is readily available online. If you do an online search for G major pentatonic in a certain part of the neck, you'll be able to find many examples of that with diagrams and tabs and so forth. And so in order to utilize the video, you are going to have to do a little bit of online research if you don't have it readily available in a book. But I think, again, that will be easy enough for you to do. I hope you'll stick around.